Welcome back to another episode of the CIRF Report, and I apologize for having skipped a week. In essence, just totally inundated with Thanksgiving and the holiday. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and we have more, obviously, holidays coming up shortly, but this is a crazy week. As you will see, I'm going to bring up the summary slide, and we're going to see some astrology that is fairly eye-watering. Nothing like eclipses in January, but we have some Venus volatilities. It's going to be some relational ups and downs. That's just this week, by the way. Neptune has a lot of different aspects which come out in the DreamBot. Uranus is poised to give us a lot of looks, a lot of changes. And then backed up at the end of the week on the 11th is a full moon in Gemini. And we're going to be nailing all that down. Although I suspect the next CIRF report to actually be produced and published before the next full moon. But we're going to talk about it here so that you can get prepared for it. The DreamBot, the collective unconscious, is all about expansive yang, and I'll describe what that means, and a little bit of crazy Neptune in there. And the I-Ching is hexagram 9, a small accumulating. And so what that means is practical steps forward, just moving forward. And there is one change line. And so if we have this influential diagram, it really looks like just moving forward, not looking back. And you'll be amazed at what the solution is when we turn around this hexagram 9 and apply the change line. You're going to have to wait and see. It is eye-watering. But let's talk about the DreamBot. This is the collection of dreams, and it was just conducted. We're looking at a lot of yang words, the top of the mountain, boss. And I put up there Capricorn because this is where a lot of planets are. We're going to look at the astrology here pretty soon, but we've got a lot of planets, a lot of influence in Capricorn and Earth signs. And so there's no coincidence that the collective is thinking about the mountain and being the boss. But it's also on the third word there is called failing. And not that Capricorns fail, but they are sort of tend to be obsessed about failing or not failing. Then you've got other yang words in the red, but at the bottom of the red is Jupiter, because you can see bigger and party. So optimistic and expansive, that's Jupiter. And putting all that together is a positive, easy yang energy. So very optimistic, very push forward, get to the top of the mountain, achieve your goals, that kind of thing. And that actually matches the astrology, as we'll see. We're going to drill down day by day. But also in the blue arrows is a lot of the Neptunian psychic kind of crazy awareness stuff. And it's about noticing. It's about soup and pizzas, just kind of throwing things together and seeing through the glass, wandering about, meditating. That's the mystic side of Neptune. Portal, all these words are very much like Neptune kind of words. All right, that's the collective, and you can see that it's basically expansive yang and crazy Neptune. Let's talk about the astrology. And I've got the summary slide up here, not that you can read all this stuff. The words are fairly small. But in essence, what we have is Mercury going into Sagittarius. I believe that's on the weekend. We're going to see as we drill down day by day. But let's see. Well, let me get my pointer out. And I can show you where I'm looking at right here. This is Mercury, and it's going to go into Sagittarius. Then we're looking at a square. Now, what I did to make this chart a lot simpler is, and not so confusing, is made the orb extremely small. So it's just like 1 degree. And what we're doing is just looking at where the alignments are exact. And so we have a square. It's a sun square Neptune. That's going to be with us the whole week. But also, if we look down here, like the Jupiter trine Uranus, that's showing exact on the 15th, which is the next CIRF report. But that influence starts here because the orb is on the charts are more like 8 degrees. Okay, so, but in this chart, we're more interested in when they go exact. So we have a conjunct with the Venus and Saturn. We have a trine with Mars and Neptune. All of these things are going to be in an influence, even though they're going to be exact. The lower half is going to be exact in the next CIRF report. Get rid of the focus and let's drill down day by day. On Thursday, the 5th of December, we're looking at all of these alignments that I was referring to. I'm going to talk about now. And these are going to be with us the entire time. So, for example, Mars trine Neptune, it is achieving your dreams. Mars being achievement, pushing forward, yang, even fighting for something. Neptune being dreams and intuition and, even fantasy. So but in order to manifest your dreams, it's going to have to be in this practical world. So this makes that a practical requirement. Now, what is in the waning stage is this opposition. This is not going to continue past today. Mars oppose Uranus. We talked about that in actually in the last CIRF report. It's just now finishing up. And maybe you have seen some changes in the way that you move forward in life or get things done. But what Uranus has that is going to span this entire week, Uranus trine Jupiter. So this is very expansive. It's very positive, optimistic changes. And changes that enhance life, changes that make you think deeper in life, deeper meaning, that kind of thing. So, Jupiter being very expansive, wise, gaining wisdom, but also optimistic and expansive. All right. And then you have the sun is going to make a square to Neptune. So you can see all these aspects to Neptune. Let's just hang out here with Neptune for a while. We already talked about Mars, so getting things done, achieving your dreams. And then you have Venus sextile Neptune. So, relational dreams, not really goals, but visions, fantasies. That could be a very positive thing, even if we include Venus as a financial instrument or financial production. But Neptune is a square over to the sun. So if we're trying to achieve dreams that have to do with the ego, you're going to run into some obstacles. You're going to create some obstacles. And so you really need to sacrifice. This really does go into the solution quite a bit, but it only refers to it. So it asks you, since the sun is squared up to Neptune, don't be achieving your goals if it has to do with selfish ends and just about yourself and your ego wants and desires. You're going to produce obstacles in the way. I think that is about it for now. So what does all this mean? It means manifest your dreams, but avoid egotistical type dreams or just, selfishness, that sort of thing, of a material nature, that kind of thing. All right, moving into Friday. Now we're looking at the moon getting multiple squares to it. Now, I don't normally like to really talk a whole lot about the moon because it's transiting so fast through the zodiac, but in this case, you can see one trine that's over to the sun. And so on Friday, your emotions and your ego at least is fairly well balanced. And this is in the evening, so 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And but you look at this moon and it's got all these square aspects to it: Pluto, Saturn, and Venus. And so emotions are blocked. Emotions are blocked to relationally, so it might be hard to empathize with other people on Friday evening. This also extends into Saturday morning, by the way. The moon is squared up to Saturn, so you don't really you're not invested emotionally in the way things have always been, maybe tradition. Saturn is the rule sets and all that, so kind of emotionally blocked from all that. And then Pluto, and Pluto can be the death rebirth, that whole cycle, so maybe not even emotionally aware of the kind of the reality of life. But Pluto is also the hidden force, the hidden influence, and the hidden power behind it all. And so if I don't have emotional access to that inner power, that can really make me feel very vulnerable. But at least we have a trine over to the sun, which makes everything, at least in thoughts, ego wants, needs, and emotions, all that fairly well balanced, although emotions clearly are going to be blocked more to the outside world. All right. Now, as we get into Saturday, in the AM, the moon hasn't really transitioned out of this. This chart here is in the afternoon, 3 p.m. But by the afternoon, all the squares have gone away, and now we're looking at just a nice trine over to Jupiter and an inconjunct over to Mercury. Mercury, by the way, is headed into Sagittarius. We'll get to that here a little bit later, where your thoughts are going to get wise, moving expansively to Never Never Land, the wide open pastures, and nothing's off limits. So those emotions having to adjust to that. But by the time this inconjunct is done, Mercury will be over in Sagittarius. So everything on Saturday starts emotionally blocked, but by the middle of the afternoon, you can see all these trines. Everything turns a little bit easy. Sun still is square to Neptune. It's moving towards an exact square. But other than that, the skies are very cleared up on Saturday. And in fact, your emotions turn very expansive and optimistic. On Sunday, you can say that the emotions are actually set free. Other than this Mars oppose Moon, and that's just a need for balancing your desire to move forward and get things done, and even fighting for something that's going to have to be balanced with those newfound emotions. The emotions are pointing towards a nice, healthy, positive, expansive trine with Jupiter, but needing to balance all that optimism over to what are you going to fight for? What are you going to push forward? And Mars, by the way, still in that trine to Neptune, wanting to achieve my dreams and seeing a life in the future and moving towards that. But the emotions are set free, and then the thoughts later tonight. This is the night of Sunday evening, December 8th. This chart is for around noon, but as it goes past midnight, Mercury is going to head into Sagittarius. So by 7:50 a.m., Mercury is already at 0 degrees 15 minutes of Sagittarius. By the way, what I didn't mention, I might have mentioned this, but look at all these Capricorn planets. If we include the South Node, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you've got these three planets in Taurus, and so it's very practically dominated. Earth energies are dominating this, but also Capricorn, and that was showing up in the Dreambot. It's going to be very goal oriented, and on, let's see, this is Monday, the December 9th. Look at all these trines to the moon now. The moon's got easy energy over to all the above: Pluto, Saturn, Venus, and then later on, or earlier, Jupiter. I guess we already covered that. So freedom, ego, and emotions are adjusted. That's moon in conjunct sun. And we're going to have to do some adjusting, especially as these other expansive positive changes. Even though things are positive and optimistic, if it's changing, that means we have to adapt. So there's your adjustments having to be made. On Tuesday, we're getting closer to the full moon. The moon is now past the in conjunct with the sun, heading over to Gemini. Moon just now in Gemini. This is at 11:30 a.m. This could be seen as sort of the calm before the storm. And the storm, yes, unfortunately, the storm happens at the full moon. Let's go ahead and proceed into Wednesday. Nothing really to see here on Tuesday. Check this out. So it is obviously sun oppose moon, but it's not just that. Look at all the inconjuncts. These are all the adjustments that have to be made. And that's to Saturn, the way things should be, your relationships and your hidden power, your hidden influence. But look at the T-square. So we have a full moon at 11:11 p.m. on December 11th. And we have a T-square. But check out where this full moon is. It's in what, I mean, obviously it's Gemini, but Gemini's symbol kind of looks like a 2 or 11. So December 11th at 11:11 p.m., we have craziness at 19 degrees, 52 minutes of Gemini. But we have in conjunct all over the sky, including Uranus with an inconjunct over to Mercury, who's just now in Sagittarius. By the way, Mercury in Sagittarius now, thoughts are running free. Sagittarius is the centaur on the horse and just galloping to the sunset, wide open pastures. And, Sagittarius also represents higher knowledge, deeper wisdom. And so Mercury, who's more very rational and just kind of very practical and kind of the low-level education, is going to be challenged here. And so your thoughts are going to really have no obstructions. So you probably have that particular influence. But on this full moon, you're going to have the T-square, and on the crux of the T-square is Neptune. This is going to be tricky because we're trying to imagine a new life. We've been talking about moving forward. It's hard to not move forward to an imagination. I mean, you have to have some sort of imagination to make change and move forward in life. Well, if Neptune is T-squared on this full moon, that means we need to take a step back and really just push out in the practical sense. And with the moon in Gemini, we're looking for, to be friendly. Geminis are particularly sociable. We're very communication oriented, but thoughts, lots of thoughts, maybe even racing thoughts at this point. Lots of thoughts, especially as Mercury, who's when I say the owner of Gemini, you know what I mean. Mercury is in Sagittarius on the opposite side, heading towards the sun, and the moon in Gemini. It's a lot of thoughts because Gemini is about thoughts. Emotional responses trigger lots of thoughts. There's going to be some heavy thinking, and these emotions have to adjust to Saturn, Venus, Pluto. And you got to stay out of the fantasy because that's going to produce this T-square. You're going to be conflicted on December 11th at 11:11 p.m. if you're only focused on the other side, the psychic material, the dreams, the not real world yet, the fantasy side of things. You got to come back into the mental construct. Deeper wisdom is on the Sagittarius side. And the moon is up there on the Gemini side, which is the very rational brain. So make sure that now Gemini does make you, that influence is very versatile. It's very adaptable. And so we don't have to really be making a lot of sets of plans, and we can kind of go with that flow. But this is kind of the preliminary to the solution slide. So there you have it for the astrology. What does the I-Ching say? The I-Ching reading for this week, 12/5 to 12/11, is small accumulating. It's hexagram 9, which is wind over heaven. And the wind drives across heaven, the image of taming power of the small. Thus the superior man refines the outward aspect of his nature. And the outward aspect of his nature from 9 is the influence. So we are prepping for a forward movement. And this is the suggestion from the Book of Changes. Remember the origin. Do not cling to the past. Do not try to comprehend all at once. Knowledge comes slowly. This is very good words for Mercury going into Sagittarius. Now, this is line 4. And so line 4 says, if one is in the difficult and responsible position of counselor to a powerful man, one should restrain him in such a way that the threat of actual bloodshed may arise. Nonetheless, the power of disinterested truth is greater than all these obstacles. It is what it is, and moving forward is the only answer. Now, when we apply this change line, guess what we get? Yang over yang. This is hexagram number 1, and it's force. It's all yang. It's called the creative. The movement of heaven is full of power. Thus, the superior man makes himself strong and untiring. Now, I do want to remind you that when we cast these I-Ching coins, we ask that if there is a change to the hexagram, or if there's a better solution than the influence, that the second hexagram will be the solution to maximize the influential energy. So the answer is, or the solution is, the creative, the yang. Get yang. With this image as a model, the sage learns how best to develop himself or herself so that his or her influence may endure. He must make himself strong in every way by consciously casting out all that is inferior and degrading. Thus she attains that tirelessness which depends upon consciously limiting the fields of her activity. In other words, you're going to be much more effective in your yang and moving forward if you don't take all of your projects and move them forward at once. Pick the most important ones and move them forward. Push those forward in this next week. This is the manifestation, but it's also moving yourself forward, looking into the future. And then by the end of the week, before the full moon, you're no longer living in the fantasy. You have already manifested the fantasy. By the time the full moon comes in, you're going to be full up yang and giving. Yang is giving. It's expressing. It's communicating outward. It's pushing forward. It is exerting energy. It is not receiving. It's not going to the past. It is not rejuvenating even. It's expending energy. All right. So Thursday through Wednesday, it's the I-Ching suggests move forward with yang. All right, let's get on to the solution slide. Thanks for hanging with me. The influence is all this is crazy astrology. Venus with the volatility. We didn't really cover that too well, but we did cover all the different aspects. We covered the Neptune craziness and the Uranus changes. And we covered the full moon, so we have it is forward. It's not looking back. And the best solution is get your yang on, get it moving forward. Yes, you can initially use the Neptune psychic intuition is more Uranus. Uranus can give you insight, It's the invention kind of invention design, which is Uranus. Neptune is more of the dreams and the escapism, that sort of thing. But it's all starting out in the early part of the week, or the first 5 days, is honor that Neptune, honor the dreams, honor the fantasy. In fact, start moving that forward towards those fantasies. But by the full moon, you've got to really just sacrifice the fantasies, move out of that, move into the real world, get your Capricorn on, move up the mountain, set your goals, prioritize, get it done. Get it done. All right. Real positive week. I hope that, but it is going to be probably pretty crazy, as I can't even seem to talk anymore. All right. So that's about it. Let me know if you got any questions, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.